Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Room for Seconds. Wow, Amy just can't wait to jump in. I have an incredible guest today and a real good friend of mine who is an absolute awesome operator, better people person, and is, in my eyes, the next best COO out there of a major company. She's just waiting to get the offer. Oh, wait, I offered her that and she told me no. Come, Amy.
Oh my God. Wow. Right off the bat. All right. Hate words.
No hate.
Never. No hate. Thank you for having me. And yeah, shout out to you, Greg, because you are a celebrity legend icon in the industry. And I think the reason why you are is because you give all of us time and space. The minute we reach out, you pick up the phone, you answer, and you connect. And there just are not a lot of people of your caliber that do that for us. So you also give a lot of time back. So I love being your friend and being in your circle. And I'm not sure we've had a talk like this unless we've had cocktails. So it's a good time.
It is a good time. Now, so obviously I made a joke at the beginning. You will end up working for me. And I'll continue to make this joke all night. But in
Send a Lamborghini. How did you get a job? Somebody sent you a private jet and a Lamborghini. So you better
I'm different. That was a different time and he was already wealthy.
It's time to bring I think you're wealthy and I think it's time to bring those times back. Just putting it out.
Boy. So why don't you just give a quick rundown of your bio so everybody can get to know a little bit about you, and more importantly, one thing someone does not know about you.
Ooh, okay. My background is in hospitality, a lot like many people you've had on your podcast. Grew up in the industry, started off as a hostess, cleaning the bathrooms, bussing tables, server assistant, running the wheels back in the day, where you had the no tickets, no printers. It was just, handwritten tickets on the big wheel, the small wheel, running, $5 million restaurant in St. Louis in Missouri. So I'm a Midwest girl at heart. Worked for great leaders along the way who have taken me to the next level. So from Wolfgang Puck and hanging out with Wolf, doing line checks and learning about food, to California Pizza Kitchen with, some greats like Sue Collins, who's now running Fabletics, and Sarah Grover, who's over at working with Elon Musk now. So a lot of great mentors in the industry. And when I left CPK after 10 years, I was running the catering department after running multi-unit in the field and operations, and kicked that off. Gosh, that's aging me a little bit. Recently worked for places like Reef Technology, Sweet Green, Bluestone Lane, and as of recent running Barcelona Wine Bar as a CEO and working with Adam Halberg and the team, which has been awesome.
So you just started at your current job. And before we had the conversation, you said you learned a couple of things that, were really excited you about that concept. Want to share?
About Barcelona Wine Bar?
Yes.
Sure. I think they have built this collection of restaurants where some of them don't even have a name on the building. It's the place to be where you want to go for a party, a good time, lift your spirits. We have chefs in every single location. They create 70% of the menu every day and change it out, and they are just incredible to work with. The layouts of the restaurants are well thought out. You've got this U-shaped bar where everybody can have a party and get to know one another. And, how would you not enjoy having great Spanish tapas with amazing wines? We have a 400 bottle wine list. So it's this incredible experience that you come in for and you leave feeling better. And the number one thing I think Adam and Gretchen, who've been there since the beginning of the concept, have kept very, very close to their heart is just hospitality. And I think what's happened these days is people are trying to replace it with robotics and these other things, and some things you need to in certain concepts. But for Barcelona, it's very much making sure you're making a connection. Managers are touching tables. It's like old school restaurant, and it feels really good.
Very cool. And of course, you're one more thing that nobody knows about you.
Oh gosh.
I know you're an open book. Everyone knows everything
I
about
am.
you.
They do know everything about Amy. One thing nobody knows about me. I think everybody knows everything, Greg. I was adult adopted at 33. Some people do know that, some people don't. But I'm one of those few cases that finally got it done with this woman that took me in when I was 33 in Torrance, California. So funny story, but like I said, I've always been surrounded by really great people. That's why I attach myself to you and some of these other folks.
I did not know that.
Well, now you know. I don't know that we've ever had a conversation, but yeah, she dropped me off at a mall when I was younger and going through it and said, "Here's 2 quarters," when there were pay phones. Said you need to get a job if you're going to sleep on the couch, and that's what I did. So I've just been hustling since in the space. And like I said, there are some really great leaders out there that take people under their wing. And now that is what I try to do to give back, because a lot of people did it for me, which I think is very similar to what you're doing for a lot of others as well.
So you definitely do a very, very good job of that. And you and a bunch of others started a very cool organization that handles that. So why don't you give us a little bit of rundown of that and what you're doing with them?
Well, first off, kudos to you for supporting us. You've donated a lot of time and funds into LEAD and GLEAM. So LEAD is learning exploration and development for emerging leaders in the industry: servers, bartenders, emerging managers, assistant managers, captains, general managers, the whole gamut of folks that are interested in connecting with folks like you that normally would not get a chance to. So we also made it very affordable. A lot of the conferences like you and I attend, although I'm looking forward to the fireworks show, small snag there. The conferences you and I attend are thousands of dollars sometimes. And if the company's not sponsoring you, a lot of people can't afford to go on their own. So we've made it possible that it's a small amount. It's more just to make sure they're going to show up than anything. So it's $40. And the next one coming up is yourself as a keynote, Jack Ibbins as a keynote, and Emily Williams Knight, who we all know from the Texas Restaurant Association, down in Houston. So the September 26th is coming up, and we're live with selling tickets. We max out at a smaller amount because we want it to be an intimate setting to get access to you guys to ask questions. And everybody wants to learn how you got here. Like, how did Greg get here? How did Jack get there? And Emily, who, has won a lot of leadership awards. So I think we need to make this restaurant industry sexy again. I think we lost a little sexiness and we're trying to bring it back.
So you talk about mentorship, and that's the whole purpose of Lead and Gleam.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you feel that's important today in this industry? Because in the old days, nobody did it, or you didn't hear about it as like you do now, because social media and the sexiness of other jobs has sort of taken over. Everyone can go get rich by being an Instagram star or an influencer and all that. So you're losing that younger generation that usually fills our pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it, do you think, to get that mentor now to show what you can do in this industry?
I think there's a lot of people that would admit to saying that they wouldn't be where they are if they didn't have one. I just am not sure they would officially call it a mentorship. But I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't have the Sues, the Sarahs, the Karen Stutzes of the world, the Greg Majewskis, the Jeffs. I mean, if you don't surround yourself with really great people, you may opt out and think that there's something better out there, but it's not. And the way I see it is, and I think you do too, is when you go to the restaurant, you feel like you're going to a party. You get to know new people. You get to help them. You get to develop them. You get to help. They may have an interest, or on the flip side of it, they may have something that's standing out that's holding them back. And if somebody doesn't pause and say, "Hey, these are 3 things or 2 things that you really could be doing better," they may stay stagnant. But as you heard from Maria's story from Small Sliders, right? She was a dishwasher, and there's people that invest in people like that. Her, myself, and others that wouldn't be where they are if they didn't have mentors. So I think it's so important right now for us to bring forward that next generation and show them what can be done. This whole thing where people bring up work-life balance, I call it work-life integration. It's not a work-life balance. Sometimes you got to answer the phone and you're at home, and then sometimes you're at work and you're talking to your spouse or your partner. And it's really understanding that it's a lifestyle, and you're having a great time doing it. And there's so much fun to be had and so much growth, and there's great opportunity in our segment. So, you don't really feel like you're going to a 9 to 5 desk job. There are 9 to 5 desk jobs that support us, individual contributors that we need, but I do think the mentorship can show people what's possible.
I
Do you
hate my
agree with
desk
that?
job. Yeah, I hate my desk job.
You're never at the desk. You're always on a plane, train, or automobile when I talk to you.
So, but I hate my desk. But there's a
But why do
reason.
you think but why do you think mentorship is so important as well? Because you show up at all these events we have. You're paying for other people to get mentored. Clearly, you think it's I know. Sorry. He has no money. He cannot help you. But for you, why do you think it's important? Because I think you're there with all of us that are trying to make a difference.
Because I do it because I think this industry is special. I think it's life changing. I think people have a very, very bad taste in the fact that you can't become wealthy, and that's why people get out of this industry. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of long hours and holidays and everything of that nature, but I don't think people see the reward that comes from it. And
Mhm.
that's why I'm so involved because, yeah, I give up time with my family at times. I give up holidays, but then I get to see somebody who started with me as a host graduate work all the way through college with me and then go on to be a teacher and get married. And I get Christmas cards from her every year, telling me about her family that she now has and the fact that I changed her life because I was there and taught her work ethic. Those are the type of things that are just, you don't realize how important they are to people. And this
Mhm.
industry's been and will continue to be first time job people.
Mhm.
And it's not the ones that need to go further. And there's some that should be out of the industry, but there's some that you can bring in and teach work ethic and the importance of teamwork and, what is hospitality and how to treat people. Hospitality is not how you just treat people in the industry. It's how you treat your kids or your family or your spouse's family or the people walking down the street. It's how you treat just people in life. And we're
Mhm.
responsible for teaching such a generation that. And right now, people are rude, so
Yeah.
it's more important than ever to do that.
Kill them with kindness. Kill them with kindness. Hopefully it rubs off. I agree.
And
Could not
people
agree
for
more. It's a crazy time right now.
yeah, I mean, people are mean. I mean, walked in the grocery store the other day and this old man was just yelling at this kid because he knocked something over and it was like
Mm.
eight. And it's like, come on, are you kidding me? He didn't mean to bump you. He's a kid.
And then that
And
behavior breeds over. It's too bad.
and that kid
I
will
still,
never forget it.
I'm still trying to remind myself that 90, although my last team used to tell me, Amy, your expectations are too high. I still think 90% of all people are good. Sometimes they just have to be shown the way, and they just may not know because they may grow up in a crazy household or parents that are going through it, and they need an example. But I think I do, my motto as a leader, which many people that work with me know this, is easy on people, tough on standards. I want to know how the kids are. I want to know what's going on in your life, but I do need you to make sure that things are running well and the restaurant's clean and the details are taken care of. But we are people first, and everybody knows we're in a people industry, and they're the ones that take care of what we do. So I agree with you. No more
100%.
mean people though, Greg. No more mean people. We got to stop the meanness. I can't
Oh man,
handle it.
we got some cleaning up to do in this industry because there are some mean people.
There are some mean people, and some of the mean people continue to get those top jobs, which I talk about a lot. And they need to start looking around and giving other people opportunity. That's for sure, because there's some great leaders out there that deserve it.
And that's part of why I think your program is so great. I do agree with that. Leadership should not be earned because you've been around for a period of time. It should be earned because you're the best person for it. And that was something that I was lucky enough to have happen to me right out of school, which is why I believe it so much. It doesn't matter if you're 21 or if you're 48 or if you're 54, if you're the ass kicker that needs the right person for the job at that moment, then it's your job. and then prove
Hmm.
everybody wrong. And that very few people take that risk. It's also why there's not many organizations that believe in flat,
Hmm.
that they all talk about a flat organization, but it's bullshit. And then
Hmm.
you've got other organizations that are truly flat.
Hmm.
And those flat organizations allow people to step up and allow people to walk into other areas that they don't allow normally, that then allows them to get to a point where they get to step up into a bigger role just because they got the opportunity to know about marketing and ops. And if that doesn't
Yes.
happen in this industry, you don't get those chances. You have how many CMOs get promoted to CEOs, but how many operators get the opportunity is usually finance or CMOs right now. The operator
Hmm.
is being forgotten.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of operators that get that chance anymore,
Yep.
unless you're a founder.
Hmm. Well, then maybe I just need to go co-founding with you somewhere. We
I'm sure I
can
can
buy
come
some
up with a brand.
assets together. That actually might be fun. But
I'm Greg Majewski, and I've been a multi-unit operator for 26 years. I know how great it feels owning the right franchise brand, but choosing the right franchisor feels even better. At Craveworthy Brands, our hospitality-driven culture sets us apart because we're invested in your success at every single stage of your journey. We're operators alongside you, paving the way forward to give you a head start on greatness. Start your franchise journey at craveworthybrands.com.
I agree with you. There's a gap, and I think to be, we talk about this a lot at Lead, but to really be great at that CEO or and just honestly any C-suite role, even the CMOs that become CEOs struggle with this. Is you still have to know a little bit about everything. You have to know accounting, you have to know finance, you have to know marketing, you have to know HR, you have to know how to recruit really well, right? And then you still got to know the ops. And I think sometimes people, there's not a straight line to it, and you have to understand all facets of the business to actually really get to where you want to go in the industry. So, and then you have to have the advocates for it. You have to have people that say great things about you when you're not in the room to help you get promoted. So there's a list, but it's achievable, and I think it's achievable through somebody sitting down and going through your development plan with you and constantly having those conversations of where you're at, where you need to be. A lot of leaders are too busy right now to do the most important thing, and that is to develop their team. So if there's not a development plan system in place, or they're not sitting down and having those one-to-ones and saying, hey, I need you to step up in this, or show this, or do this better, the company stays stagnant. But if you're having those conversations, those influential conversations, and making those around you better, your job actually gets easier. It's a lot of emotional input at the beginning, but it pays off in dividends towards the end. So I think it's important. And now I watch leaders and I'm thinking, if I don't want to work for them, like the regional director team or the VP team that I've had, if they're not stepping into that development piece, why would we want our teams to work for them? And I think it's really critical right now because we are losing folks.
100% agree. I just want to point out that I'm drinking Kirkland water Coke. If you'd like to go ahead and sponsor my podcast, here's your opportunity.
You got to call Costco for that.
So they're not going to sponsor me. So
Never say never. We can call
when
people. You just met all those people at Lollapalooza. Come on.
Lala, that was something.
I only saw the pictures. Next, I need to come out sometime. I'm jealous.
I saw one show. I went to one act, and I only went because my son that I had to drive home was sitting in the crowd waiting for me to drive him home. Otherwise, I would have been gone. I would have been in my car and went home. It's so many people. It's cool. But I'm too old to see some of that stuff. Now I look at my son and I'm like, if I
I've
was
never
his
been,
age,
but it's
I would be, yes, there, loving it. And then you see Karen walking through, and it's like, it just doesn't add up.
she thinks she fits right in there. So
It's
she's
amazing.
she's a legend, man. She loves music and she goes to every concert.
Yes, she was
Yes,
there a
she is.
long time every day. So when you're
I don't know where
mentoring
she gets it. I don't know where she.
and as you're mentoring and as you're trying to
Yes.
build what you're trying to build, the benefits you get from mentoring in your
Hmm.
organization, how does that help you? Where does that get your organization long term? Because most people think mentoring should be outside or mentoring is only for the benefit of now. But how have you mentored somebody and it's come back to help you 2, 3, 4 years later outside of when they're at their next job or so on down the line?
Well, let me give you a current, and I hope she doesn't mind me telling this story. I won't say her name, but there's someone that's on the exec team with myself, and she said, "Hey, you're doing these development plans. Do you mind if will you do one on me?" And I said, "Absolutely." And so we sat down and we went through it. And she said, "Well, I'm having a hard time giving direct feedback to my team for them to get better." And so we had that conversation around having tough conversations. And 9 times out of 10, when you're giving somebody tough feedback, they actually want it. It's just in your delivery and how you do it. There is an art to it, right? It's like the slap with the kiss. It's like, I know you can do this. You need to change your behavior in this or the way you do this or think about this. I believe in you, and I'm going to follow up with you in 30 days and see how you're doing. But you're watching that whole team. I'm watching that whole team now show up in a different way, and they're elevating themselves. And they're a lot of times folks don't believe they have decision rights. So having all of these mentoring conversations within your organization where you're allowing folks to show up and you're giving them the approval. And unfortunately, sometimes it needs to happen to say, I trust you, go do the job, come back and just fill me in. I'm here to listen and I'm here to coach if you need some help or you get stuck. And you start to watch these leaders soar, and it's really fun to do. And there's leaders still that are at C-suite levels that are micromanagers. It's never worked, never will. They stay stagnant. The business stays stagnant. We've talked about businesses that do well and don't, and their leadership that's in place. If you look at who they are, sometimes are those micromanaging leaders. So there's always, where do they make a bad decision here and there? Sure, but you coach them and they learn from it and they actually become stronger. This is probably 20 years ago. I had a regional director who was going to promote someone, and I knew this person was not ready to get promoted. And she said, "Well, I said, listen, it's your team. You decide. If something happens, I'll help you with the situation." Oh, maybe a month in, she calls me and said, "I should have listened to you." And I said, "No, you shouldn't have, because now you know what great leadership looks like and what you're looking for. So let's sit down, let's remove this person from the organization, and let's find the right person. And now you know what to look for." Had I made that decision for her, it wouldn't have worked out. It would have just been, it's constantly leaning on me for that. But now she's one of the best VPs in a very large organization that she's just kicking ass and taking names, and I couldn't be more proud of her. So there are external mentors. Like, I go to you for mentoring. I go to Karen a lot for mentoring. And so if I don't understand something, I don't feel bad for asking. But I'm not going to sit in the corner and act like I know, or not learn and make myself, and hold myself back. I'm going to keep asking and knowing all of you guys. So, I think that there's all different levels of mentorship in life. And I think it is important. And there are people I ran across, which you probably have too. Cause we had the women top 30 tech that Lunchbox had, and we had the dinner, and some of the women there said they've never had a mentor and they don't talk to a lot of folks. And my heart sunk for them, because I thought, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be where I am if that didn't happen. So I think it's a gift, and we should all take advantage of it, because I do.
Yeah, it's hard when you first get started to open yourself up in this industry. It really is. Um, and reputations are hard to overcome once you sit in a corner or you don't do it. Um,
Hmm.
so the earlier you can get in and get open and start meeting people, it's always 100% better. I mean, I'm very, very lucky to have a close group of friends in this industry that are all sort of trying to go at the same time. And if we didn't have that right now, we all would be lost
It
because,
would be fun. It wouldn't be as fun.
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And so it is much, much needed. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What's your dream?
My dream is to continue to influence and help others as I scale a business, or I'm continuing to influence others in the business. So I don't see myself out of the business. I don't see myself retiring anytime soon. I've got a long couple of years ahead of me, even though you're the same age as me and you're retiring sooner than me. But I do see I do see myself continuing the journey and doing a lot of giving back and fitting that in and making that a priority for myself, but also continuing to get mentored myself. I mean, that's a big question because the restaurant industry is changing, but I do continue to see myself leading an organization like I am now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, what's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
I think it was more of a moment than advice. I was walking into a publicly traded company's boardroom and I was getting ready to present. And, we've been talking about Karen Stutz, and she was my boss at the time. And she looked at, and I said, I really don't think I need to go in there. I think I'm good. And she looked at, and I said, they already know what I know. And she looked at me and she very sternly, in her motherly Karen voice, said to me, they can't do what you do, Amy. They can't run businesses like you run. You're running, 250 restaurants right now. This is a couple of years ago at Red Robin. And she goes, you need to go in there and tell them, because you're very successful at it, how to do it and how it should be done and what we're missing on the other side of the country that needs to be addressed. And so I walked in there thinking, looking at, all the board members and investors and, they asked me questions and I was honest and I was very confident in my answers. And I walked out there going, I do know what I'm doing. That was a great opportunity. And they can't do what I do. They can't run in circles sometimes like we do in operations where you're juggling all the different departments I just stated, where things catch on fire sometimes. And, I would say the restaurant industry is 20 different juggling balls. And if you let one start to fall, the rest of them start to drop. But if you learn to catch one when it starts to fall and you keep them all up, you're having a good time. And so I think for her having that moment with me gave me a lot of confidence, probably for the rest of my career, going, a lot of these folks can't do what I do. So a lot of people can, but a lot of people can't that are actually interested or investing into a business. They hire us, people like us, to help run them because they can't do it.
100% correct. And PE groups, and I knock on them all the time, don't know how to run a restaurant, which is why I think what we're building at Craveworthy is so different because I'm not a PE group. And it's also been part of our struggles trying to explain that to people, because you're completely different. And you need people that know how to do this because it's so different than other jobs in other industries. The levels and the points are the same. You got to treat people right. You got to take care of them. You got to lead them, but it's not 9 to 5. It's all the time. And because you're working weird hours and because your staff is getting home after 10 o'clock and that you have to also be available for other issues that arise. It's hard to get home. I mean, if you're a chef and you're in a chef driven concept and you're getting home at 11, 12 o'clock at night, your wife and family are asleep. You got to get up early to spend that time with them. And that takes a wear and tear. But that's what makes this industry so special is that we do those things. And you strive to do that. I mean, you travel across the country every week to do your job, and that's hard, it is hard, but the reward is
You're
so
doing
great.
the same thing. I just need the private jet like you do, and I'd be probably more
I
productive.
need a private jet too.
We could share one.
It would have been great this week.
The flying lately has been crazy, but yeah.
So,
I think this restaurant still has a lot to give a lot of people if they want to rise to the occasion and do it. I think you got to be in the right mental state at all times. Things just like any other job. If your home life is good, your work life's good. If your home life is a mess and you got to pause and figure things out, it runs into work. And that's just the nature of being human. And I think we got to give ourselves grace sometimes and understand that when people are going through it in our industry and give them some time, because when you find some really good A players and some gems, it's being that servant leader and doing whatever you can to help them out at that time. But, people have to earn that too. So it's a little bit of a balance.
Without a doubt. All
I'm
right.
speaking of the things you already know. So,
Yeah, but it's not about me. It's about you and getting everyone to realize that you're the shit.
oh, thanks, Greg. You're the shit too.
So, and that you deserve every opportunity you get. So,
Thank you. I appreciate that.
one of the things that we tell people in these mentoring sessions is you can't settle. That you've always got to, as much as you love a job, as much as you love an opportunity, at some point in any organization, you can either go so far, and sometimes if you want to go to the next point, you got to go somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And I have people in my seat struggle with the fact when people leave them. It's, oh, I can't believe they're leaving me. How dare they? And it's not a negative, because if somebody is taken for a better opportunity or a bigger role, you did a kick-ass job at what you did. So like it
Mm-hmm.
makes me proud when somebody goes on. Now there's times where you got to say, hey, you got to go find another job, because you're not the right fit or stuff like that. But there's also those times where somebody finally gets that opportunity because you can't. Hey, they want to be a CEO. Well, as long as I'm here, you're not going to be CEO. We got to go get you somewhere else. That's okay. Go take that opportunity. It's a
100%.
wonderful thing. That's if you're in the driver's seat, that's what you want to have happen to your people. You want them to
Mm-hmm.
continue to move up. You want them to advance. Um, and you want leaders to understand that leaving doesn't mean that you left. It means you had an opportunity because of what you did. And that's a win
Mm-hmm.
for the people that taught you.
Yeah. And that's our role. Our role is to help them along the way. And, you stay in contact with all those people. So it's a great business. I hope more people stay, and I'm excited to see you. Well, when am I going to see you next? Oh, I'll see you at the fireworks show.
Yes. And I have a surprise at that show. It won't just be fireworks, maybe.
Oh, well, I'm excited for that. Julie or no one else knows what's going on. Can I hit anybody up? I'm just kidding. I'll wait for the
No,
show.
we all know what's going on because we've been planning it, but we have to go bigger than
Oh, I'm
last year.
jealous.
Can't
No,
just
I
be,
don't think it could be bigger than last year. Last year was phenomenal.
it's got to be bigger.
Well, you're Greg Majewski, and you're planning it
Yeah.
with Jeff Alexander and the Branded Boys. So I'm sure it'll be bigger.
Yes, it will be bigger. I wanted drones. They told me no.
Oh my God. Well, as long as I get a good front seat, Julie said she'd save me a seat. I'm fine. I'm good. But I will see you though on September 26th in Houston. And thanks for coming and being a keynote for us. I know the teams learn a lot from you when you speak.
Yep. And I appreciate all your time. So with that, we're going to wrap up another episode for Room for Seconds. Amy, if you want to tell everyone where they can follow you or find you.
LinkedIn, Amy Hom, very simple. That's about it.
Okay. And please go ahead and subscribe to the button down below and get all of your episodes for Room for Seconds. And for those that don't know what Room for Seconds means, because I was asked that the other day, Room for Seconds is not about second helpings or second that. There's room for a second place in everything that we do. And if you followed my story from Jimmy John's, you know that I wanted to be number 2 in the subcategory. I knew we couldn't be number 1. And that's exactly what we're building here. Craveworthy will be the number 2 restaurant company. That's my goal. So we have Room for Seconds. So for those that did not know that, now you know. Thank you. Amy, we'll talk later.
Thanks, Greg.
Hey viewers, thanks again for supporting Room for Seconds. If you found this episode inspiring, interesting, or any bit informative, please hit that little subscribe button down at the bottom so you never miss an episode. In my 26 years in this amazing industry, I've been blessed with incredible mentorship. This show is my way of giving back. Follow me on LinkedIn, search Greg Majewski, on Twitter, @Greg_Majewski. If you still have room for more, visit our website at media.cravewordybrands.com. You'll find more videos, shows, notes, blogs, resources, and an easy way to get in touch with the Craveworthy Brands team. I'm your host, Greg Majewski. Thanks again for tuning in to Room for Seconds.